What's up, guys? Benyam Kirane here for NBA Australia. And we've got a very special Aussie season preview looking ahead at the 75th anniversary season. To do so, we're joined by a special guest, Leigh Ellis from The Athletic and the No Dunks podcast. How you doing, man? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Pete. Good to see you again, Brown. How you doing?
Good, man. I'm excited. The season's nearly here. There's plenty to get to with the 75th anniversary.
Yeah, exactly. It is a big year. There's going to be lots of celebrations, and I'm looking forward to seeing who makes the cut in the top 75 players of all time, because a few from the top 50 are going to get cut to make way for some from the last 25 years. So that should be fun. But you can start to feel those juices going again, where you're really excited for the season to tip off.
Absolutely. And for Australian fans, there's plenty to be excited about. Lots of Aussies getting around again this season in the NBA. So we're going to go through and have a look at the Aussies and how their fortunes are shaping up for the 2021-22 season. So I've got to start with the number 6 pick in the 2021 NBA draft, Josh Giddey at the Oklahoma City Thunder. How do you see his rookie season playing out?
Well, for him individually, I can see him getting a lot of minutes, getting a lot of opportunity, and hopefully putting up some decent stats there. I mean, from what we've seen in the preseason games, you can't take a ton out of those, but I hope that he can put up some decent numbers. We know the shot is, something of a sort of concern, but other than that, the playmaking, the rebounding, the assists, all those other things, I hope he can have a really good season with and look at this for what it is. And they're not in win now mode right now, the Thunder. They're in development mode. They're in sort of learning and progress mode. And for Josh as a young guy, it's not a terrible situation to be in. You're not going into a team where they're like, okay, we need you to be our sort of guy who's going to take us over the hump. This is more about working out how he fits them best, the best role for him in the NBA. Like I say, I think he looks ready, and so I'm hoping that he gets plenty of minutes out there.
Paddy came in as a great sort of free agent signing, a guy that can come off the bench, championship experience. Now it kind of looks like his role in Brooklyn, might increase. Obviously, given the Kyrie Irving situation, the uncertainty there. This is a team that has their sights set on a championship, and Patty Mills looks like he's going to play a pretty big role in that.
Absolutely. He's a fantastic pickup for them because he's a veteran who understands his role. And for most of his career, certainly there in San Antonio, he's been coming off the bench as an impact player, a shooter, a slasher, a scorer. And that's kind of exactly what the Nets need, because even without Kyrie, with James Harden and Kevin Durant, they've got enough guys who can go out there and score. But those guys need to sit down at times, and you don't want the offense to fall apart. So a guy like Paddy in that backcourt comes out there. We saw what he did for Australia in the Olympics there, just never ending in that that energy and that hustle. He goes out there, he shoots threes, he never complains about his role, he never complains about his minutes. He's a great team player, a fantastic guy to have in your locker room, and that's kind of what the Nets need, because that hierarchy, the pecking order, obviously it's Durant and James Harden and again, whatever happens there with Kyrie. But then you don't want anyone after that sort of being, upset they're not getting their shots, they're not getting their minutes. And, I think those years under Greg Popovich really, really were great for Paddy, because I don't think he necessarily changed the way he played from Portland. He fired away a bit there, but Pop just sort of taught him how to get to the right position, get your feet set and take those same shots, but make sure the shots where you're ready to take them rather than just firing away. So Paddy's at that stage of his career where he's only looking for a championship, and he's in a really good position to get one in Brooklyn.
Another Aussie who looks like he's in the hunt for a championship with the Utah Jazz, Joe Ingles. This team's made a lot of moves in the offseason. They've fallen short in the postseason the past couple of years, but the roster is looking pretty tidy for the Utah Jazz. And again, Joe Ingles coming off a pretty successful Olympic campaign with the Boomers. 34 now. He's an old head on the team, a veteran. How do you kind of see his role unfolding on this team in their kind of pursuit in the Western Conference?
I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of difference in the way that he plays and what's expected of him. He's going to probably come off the bench for the most part, slot into that starting lineup when there's an injury, and they just need him to come in and do that, because he can play that facilitator if he wants, but he's better when he's kind of a catch and shoot type of guy, an underrated defender as well. I think a lot of people look at him and think he's not too fast, he's not too athletic, but he always knows where to go. He's got that old man mentality of just getting in his defender, or as a defender, getting in his opponent's face. You know what you're getting with Joe Ingles. He's going to play, pretty much every game he can, and he's going to contribute a lot when he's out on the court. But for the Jazz, ultimately, the big picture for them is it's really going to be tough to evaluate this team until we see them put under pressure again in the playoffs.
Let's move across to the Eastern Conference again. The Philadelphia 76ers, they've been in the headlines all throughout the offseason, and Ben Simmons obviously central to that. He's reported back to Philadelphia. How do you see this playing out for Simmons and the Sixers?
We know athletically fantastic. He's got that incredible speed, great ball handling skills and court vision, can set his teammates up. Incredible defender, who's runner-up for Defensive Player of the Season last year, but he brings now some baggage with him. And that baggage is that like, what's going to happen if he doesn't like the situation he's in right now? Is he going to sort of pout again if he does go to a new team? But the big question for Ben Simmons is, can he develop and prove that he has a shot on offense that he can go to? It doesn't have to be a three-pointer. It just has to be something that he can rely on, because if you look at his numbers from his rookie season to where he is now 4 seasons in, it's basically flatlined. And that's a sign to me. I haven't been in the gym with him. I don't know who he works out with, but that's a sign to me that he simply hasn't worked hard enough on his game to develop any sort of reliable offensive weapon. We know the three-pointer is just not a part of his game. And again, it doesn't have to be, but you do need, I think, to have at least some weapon where it's like, oh, you can't leave him open from 10 feet there. He's got that jump shot all day long. He's got a situation in Philadelphia where he's close to a championship if they can figure it all out. And that's what most guys want to be in. They want to be in that situation. So I think he's got to get out there, try to forget about everything that's happened in the summer and just work his backside off and become a better player. And if he can do that, then I think obviously the Sixers become a much more likely contender for a championship like they were last season, but they just weren't able to get over the hump.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very interesting to see how things play out from both sides. But another Aussie on the roster, Matisse Thybulle, heading into his 3rd season. He had a great Olympic campaign for the Boomers, finished all-defensive second team last season. What do you think is the next step for Matisse?
Well, he needs to get that shot, that 3-point shot, and knock that down as well, because you mentioned the all-defensive second team. He only played 20 minutes a night. And I think part of it is because the Sixers don't get much from him on the offensive end. If he can become one of those 3-and-D killer guys there, where it's like on one end of the floor, he's locking up a defender, and on the other, it's like just plonk him in the corner and he's hitting those threes, then he's going to be playing 35 minutes a night, because he is an incredible defender. He's got great anticipation, great speed. For Australia, we saw him intercepting passes all the time and then going and finishing them off. But, I think he's only shooting 30% from downtown, but he's young. And, maybe this Olympic experience will really give him the confidence that he needs to take that next step in his game.
Josh Green, year 2 with the Dallas Mavericks, a new head coach in Jason Kidd. A fresh start for him, under Jason Kidd. I think this is kind of the year where he maybe does get to see a little bit more time on the court, but there's a lot of wing players on this Dallas Mavericks team.
Yeah, I mean, you're going up against like Tim Hardaway Jr. and Dorian Finney-Smith and those sort of guys, and it's like he has to sort of steal minutes off those guys under a new coach. I think that Josh is going to be a good player at some point in the league. I'm just not sure it's going to be this season. Again, the Tim Hardaway Jr. is probably the sort of guy who is going to get most of those minutes there that just make it a little bit harder for him. And he earned that big contract. He played really well there last season. But if he can catch the attention of the coaching staff, they've made the playoffs the last couple of seasons, but they want to start seeing that they're competing now for that top 4 in the Western Conference. And that's going to be tough. I'm not sure they're there yet.
Jock Landale at the San Antonio Spurs. He's got a very interesting opportunity there. What have you kind of seen from Jock Landale so far heading into this season?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. We're going into a season where the San Antonio Spurs are a team that we're like, hey, they might not win 30 games this season. That's not something we've said for 25 years with the Spurs. So Popovich expects everybody to go out there and work hard, and I think you're going to get that from Jock Landale. And I think he plays in a similar style there to Pirtle, who's not a fantastic offensive player in terms of being able to sort of score and shoot the ball, but he knows where to go, he knows how to defend, he knows how to rebound, and that's the thing. Popovich is going to respect the hard work guy, the guy who listens, the guy who follows the playbook and does exactly what's asked of him. And I think you're going to get that out of Landale.
Leigh, can't wait for the season to start. Thanks so much for joining us, and of course a lot to follow with the Aussies.
Thanks, B. Anytime, man.
And remember, guys, season tips off Wednesday, October 20. You can catch all the action on NBA League Pass. We'll catch you then.